Hello and welcome to the Gallant Few podcast for our Premier League show. My name is Mason Stewart and I'll be your host. As always, please give us a like and subscribe. Boys, a bit of a joint one tonight. The FA Cup stealing the show with the limited Premier League games this weekend. So we will kick off with the Premier League first. But before we do that, invite my two guests, starting with Johnny. How are you, Johnny?
I'm great, mate. Thank you. Lovely to be back. Good evening to the listeners and you lads, of course.
Top man, we've also got Graham. How are you, Graham? It's convenient you're on tonight, mate, when Wolves have had a bad result.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking through this weekend. To be honest, it's probably one of the most enjoyable kind of weekends of football I've watched in a very long time.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Absolutely. I think that some of the games I have on telly this weekend, I can't remember finishing a weekend and gutted that the football was sort of over, because normally that's that Sunday late game. You can't wait for the week to end. It's normally flat as anything. But Johnny, before we get into, as I say, let's get into the Premier League. And I think the big talking point from the Premier League this weekend was Fulham beating Spurs 3-0. Muniz is at it again with a double. And Spurs missed a big opportunity. What did you make of that one Saturday night?
I was surprised, definitely. Probably just as much of how the game panned out as a result as well. I agree that Muniz, that they needed a goal scorer, Fulham, badly. They needed something there. That's where they were definitely lacking. They've never really replaced that since Mitrovic went to Saudi. And he's kind of came from nowhere. I think that's now 7 goals in 7 games, which is quite a good run, especially at Fulham. I mean, Fulham can be great, they can be awful somewhere. You don't really get an in-between. I mean, I thought they were worth it, mate. I know that Spurs, they did have a lot of chances. They started terribly. Fulham started really well, Spurs were off it. I suppose you put that credit to Fulham. They did come back into the game and they did have chances. But that edge, that clinical, ruthless kind of streak that we've seen just wasn't there at the weekend. On the flip side of that, Fulham, they had it. I just thought it was kind of a bit of a bizarre game. We had, I don't know if you noticed, Timo Werner, after discussing him last week, got back to his old ways and managed to put one wide for about a yard out. No goalkeeper, nothing. Seen a few of them at the weekend, actually. So I think it was one of those days where Spurs probably could have played for about 3 weeks and never scored. But I mean, we have touched on that with Spurs. We have discussed it. I don't think they are quite where they want to be yet. They've got a ways to go. They are going to have days like that. But it was a great result for Fulham, mate. You can only really give full credit to them. Can they kick on with it? I was actually just going to say with Fulham, with the fixtures they've got coming. But as usual, I don't have them open in front of me. I think, I looked earlier, I'm sure they have a decent run in, so maybe they can get a wee bit momentum back up and get back to where they want to be. I think they're still pretty much mid-table. We kind of said that that's probably what we would expect their level to be. But, I mean, there's nothing in it between them, Chelsea, Newcastle, Wolves. There's a good opportunity there if they go on a run to leapfrog quite a few places.
Yeah, I think they got Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest in the next 2, so they are winnable. I was actually a little bit surprised when I see they were 12th earlier on. I don't know why. I just assumed they was a little bit higher. But Graham, what did you make of that result Saturday? As I said, Muniz with a double. I actually didn't realise he's been there 3 years, and he's looked like a player that's been in the Premier League quite a while. But I thought the first finish was excellent. You're mute, Graham. Sorry, pal.
Apologies, my bad. As Johnny says, probably quite a surprising result. In essence, you look at the stats; it does show you can have all the possession you want, some chances, but if you don't take them, that's always the possibility of happening. And I think when you look at what they did develop the week before, that is the kind of inconsistency that Tottenham are going to need to sort out going forward. And I'm sure they will. It's just about making sure you take those chances. And it's probably worked out a pretty good Another good result maybe for Man U. If they can win their game and they're not going to be any worse than 6 points back going into the kind of remainder of the games. And we talked about this kind of chase for top 4, and it could be the top 5 in England anyway for the Champions League next season. We know that already, but it does weigh up a really exciting prospect for that kind of top 4 or 5 between these 3 teams. And I think Man U will. Certainly after what we'll get on to their result, I think they will push for that for the end of the season. But yeah, for Fulham, obviously a really good result. I didn't know Muniz had been there 3 years either. That kind of surprises me as well. But and yeah, as Johnny says, when you look at the teams they've got in their kind of remaining fixtures, as you said, Sheffield United, Forest, they've got Luton, they've got Crystal Palace, but in the same kind of breath, they've still got Newcastle, Liverpool, and Man City. So the Premier League giveth, the Premier League taketh away. So yeah, they could have a couple of decent results and really solidify the rest of the season. And I'm sure they'll be looking for maximum points certainly out the next 2 games away at Sheffield United and Forest.
Yeah, just quickly while it's fresh on mind, Graham, I'll stay with you. You said the Premier League's a good chance that they'll get 5 places for the Champions League. Just a quick one. What is your thoughts on that? I'd like to get both your thoughts on it.
I mean, I'm personally not happy, as as I've said, look, I love the Premier League, but I'm a neutral. So for me, I think the Champions League, the new format, yeah, that's great. I think it is exciting. I really like the new format, but I do believe that the new format should have then been more weighted towards clubs from out the top 5. Again, getting more of an opportunity. We've seen us from a Rangers fan point of view in the last couple of years how hard it can be to actually get in the Champions League. And whether that's Rangers or the year before when we put out PSV, there's always these really, really huge clubs out with these top 5 leagues that don't even make it. So it can be a bit of a pill to swallow when you're seeing, a 5th club from England, Italy, Spain actually making it, when huge clubs in Scotland, Holland, Belgium, Portugal, etc., can miss out. So no, I'm not overly happy with it. As I say, I like the new format it's going to be, but yeah, I think it could be a fairer distribution.
I absolutely couldn't have said it better myself. Johnny, what's your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, I think Graham pretty much broke it down, as I would say it. I mean, it annoys me. Yeah, it's one that pretty much boils my piss, if I'm going to be honest. They just pander. They pander to these leagues. That's the bottom line. They do, and but I mean, it comes down to one thing: whatever's the best financial game for them, and that means pandering to La Liga, to the Premier League. I don't know how many places Germany get now. I'm not really sure. It's something I need to look at, but they just do, and it's been happening for a long time. So yeah, it's unfair, mate. And I mean, whatever happened to the Champions League being about champions? Now we're talking about the champions, their pets, their aunts, their uncles, and the wee guy down the road. He can get in as well. Make it about champions. Make it the best of the best. That's the way I like to see it. I do agree the format. The format could be interesting the way they've done it, but yeah, the way they're throwing out more and more places about, yeah. In the interest of fairness, it's just not there.
No, definitely. And I think I see yesterday that there could be 9 English clubs in European competition next season, which is just bonkers, isn't it? It is bonkers. But that is the way. Unfortunately, that is you're right. They just want to fill.
I mean, you just need to look at what's left even now, kind of the quarterfinals between the Conference Europa and the Champions League. It's again, look, obviously, I don't want to sound bitter in any way because they are bigger, better, financially sound clubs with all this money, and I get they're there. And the format coming up, for example, the Champions League, you're going to have 2 teams from pot 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you're going to have these massive matches between pot 1 teams next season, all that. And I get how lucrative it is, but you can't tell me that a watered down or a 5th club from an England, Spain, or Italy is going to be any better than having, a huge club from another country with, I just, nobody could tell me otherwise. You can't. I just refuse to believe that. But look, I get it. The new format's great, but yeah, it's not something we're ever going to win, is it? It's always going to be like this, and it's all about the cash. So
Yeah, that definitely is the most frustrating bit. But Johnny, bring it back to Premier League. I'll touch on first. Luton 1, Forest 1. We'll touch on the game first. Luton be delighted in the end. They were pushing for an equaliser. They managed to get one again from another set piece. And I think, as I said, they'll come away happy. They didn't lose the game going a goal down. But what was your thoughts on that game? And I think I see Forest are now 10 Premier League away games without a win.
Yeah, that is bad. I mean, Forest are in trouble, mate, and that's even just taken away, for the latest news with the deduction. It's something I think we spoke about prior, that they were flirting with that. They were getting a wee bit dangerously close, and it's only really deteriorated since then. They're very much a team on the slide. With everything happening as well behind the scenes, it's probably going to do them no favours. It's just going to put heads down even further. I mean, it looked like Forest were going to take all 3 points. To be fair to them, I thought both teams had good chances. I thought it was fairly balanced. I mean, I know both managers came out at the end and adamant they should have won that game, but I just felt like they both had a lot of chances. They had the chances to win the game. But at the end of the day, they never took them. Forest grabbed one on late on. Sorry, got a goal. I think it was the 89th minute. They equalised. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose it says a wee bit about Luton because they just don't know when they're beat. They do have a really good attitude. I know there's some games they've probably been swept aside, but in a game like that, you're never clear for them at 1-0. And I don't know what the stats are now, but I mean, they've done that a fair few times this season. Scored late, grabbed a point when they looked like they were down against the ropes. So, yeah, I mean, I would say it was a good game, but two teams that pretty much lacked that clinical edge to go and take the game when it was there. I've seen the guy, the lad Luke Berry as well, who grabbed the equaliser, scored now in every tier for Luton on the way up to the Premier League, which is pretty cool. I think that's the first time in 20 years or over 20 years that somebody's done that. So that was it was a nice start. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a fairly even game, mate. Yeah, Luton left it late, but they still had the desire and the fight to get back into the game.
They did, and Graham, Johnny's right there. Luton have scored 7 in their last 17 Premier League games consecutively. So that's a team that's going to go and score goals. Do you think that it's going to be now between Luton and Forest for that last relegation place? And we'll tie in with that, obviously, as Johnny said, the news that Nottingham Forest have been deducted 4 points for breach of financial fair play rules. What's your thoughts on that?
yeah, firstly, yeah, I mean, Luton have scored more goals in the Premier League this season than Man United have. So, I mean, it says everything. It's their games. They don't know when they're beaten, and the last couple of games they've lost a 3-0 lead. Then the game before that, they score last minute against Palace, and that's the thing. The problem I've got with the deduction stuff is, Everton have went from a 10 point down to a 6. We've got Forest with a 4 point. I don't think it's fair on teams like Luton. So they're saying that they've got a league table on their training ground up that has the league table without the deductions because they want to survive, not thinking of the deduction. And I do think it is taken away a wee bit from, as a neutral looking in. I want to see a Premier League fight. I don't want it to come to the last few games and suddenly Forest have actually won their fight against deductions and whatnot. Like, I do wonder how that'll affect Luton. And, a team shouldn't have to have a table up in their changing room that isn't a table that's reflective to the real table. So it'll be interesting to see how all this pans out, if these deductions will stay in place, at what point. Like, are we going to have played 38 games and a team's relegated, then a decision's overturned? So all that's all that's kind of, I don't know. I hope it doesn't take away from like that relegation battle that everyone loves to see. You know, those last days of the season where a club's fighting to stay up. I hope we kind of know how it's all going to pan out in terms of all these point deductions, because, as you've said, it's definitely going to be between Luton and Forest, but you know, whether some of the teams above them might get dragged into it. If Everton 6 point becomes 0 points, then you're looking at Palace and Brentford come closer again. So I don't know. It just depends what happens with these point deductions, but certainly Luton will be fighting till the last breath. I think Burnley and Sheffield United are down, even though Burnley won. I do think they'll be down, but Luton are that team that, as we've seen, that they'll fight till the last breath.
Yeah, they've definitely got that in them, and Johnny Graham made some good points there. Just touching on the points deduction, I think this is the problem now. Precedent's been set where Everton had a 10-point deduction that was then put to 6. They're feeling very hard done by, which you can understand at the moment, because Forest have only been deducted 4 with an appeal now. What's that going to be 2? I think if they're going to hit teams with point deductions, it's got to be set, and there can't be an appeal. There can't be all this, as Graham said. It could be potentially season could be finished, and then this could still be going on. It's nuts, and that, you know, with not to defend Forest, because the money they've spent was insane. I think we all said it a number of times last season that we couldn't believe it, but it's turning into a little bit of a farce.
I don't want to say you reap what you sow, because by this point next season it'll probably be Chelsea getting it, so I'm going to try and be kinder. I've done a wee bit digging into it today. The difference in the points between Everton and Forest, taking away the appeal that Everton had, although it's never been 100% clarified, it's looking like it's because Forest, they went along with it. They were very, very open. They admitted to it. They put all the figures and said that's how much we were over the threshold, whereas as far as we're led to believe, Everton didn't do that. I think Everton made it a wee bit more difficult, maybe tried to disguise it a bit, I don't know. But that was kind of where it came from. They think that that's why Forest had a lower point deduction. The Forest were 34.5 million over the 61 threshold. That's profit and sustainability. Everton breach was 19.5 million, but they got 10 points, Forest got 4. So when you look at it in black and white, it does raise questions. The Forest have till Monday to make the appeal. There was a lot of chat that it wouldn't be done before the season was out if they do appeal. For what we've been told, that's nonsense. That would definitely be sorted. If they appeal by Monday, it'll take 2-3 weeks for that appeal to be heard. And then once it's been heard, it can take 3 to 4 weeks for that point, or another 2-3, one of the two, I forget which, before they get the decision, which will be done before the season's wrapped up. But that doesn't mean Everton's second charge, which we're still waiting to hear, could be wrapped up. That could roll over the season. So yeah, it could get absolutely messy. The whole appeal thing, I kind of get what you're saying, mate. I suppose part of it comes from if you've got one team like Forest today saying, look, that we've done that, we put our hands up to it, or at least we say we put our hands up to so much of it, and then you've got another team who come out and say that's nonsense, we've done nothing wrong. It's almost like a guilty and not guilty charge. You know, one goes to trial, one goes straight to a judge, a bit like that. So the time drags out, and then you have the option to appeal. I don't know if the appeal is a good thing, mate. I think if it's in black and white and it's proven, then like you, it should just be a set penalty, and it would remove all this question and doubt, because there isn't a lot of clarity with it for what we've heard so far. A lot of it's guesswork for people in the know. I mean, Forest, like we said, they were already in trouble. With that -4, it puts them right in the middle of it. I still don't know if I'm going to commit to say that it's just between the three mentioned.
Yeah.
Simply because it is so tight down there. All it needs is one poor run and somebody to pick up points. Now you've got Luton picking up points. You've got Burnley picking up points. Even Sheffield have been getting points now and then. So, I mean, Sheffield are done, but just for argument's sake, that's two teams that we expected to definitely go down. I mean, we expected Luton as well. Sorry, Luton and Burnley, and now you've got Forest. They're all losing games. They're all very, very erratic. Everton are hardly setting the world alight. They're only 3 points above. I think they've got a game in hand, but between 20th in the league and say 14th, any of them one bad run and they're straight in there as well. So I don't think it's set in stone yet. I mean, it looks likely, but I'm not convinced. I don't think if Forest appeal that, I think they're going to be stuck with that 4 point anyway. I don't see that changing. That's if they do appeal. I think a lot of it was based around what Forest argument was to do with the Brennan Johnson signing. They were claiming that it was done in a separate timeline. It was to do with the transfer window, and they thought it was incredibly unfair that they were being punished for that because it was to do with the payments coming in. That's why the breach. That's why pretty much they're saying the breach came from. But they did admit to going over. So I don't know. Like you say, it is messy, but really that's what we've been told. That's the too long didn't read kind of version.
Yeah, I think that's been good. Johnny cleared that up a little bit for myself as well. As I said, it's been a bit of a mess the last few days with what's going on with that. Graham, before we move on, is there anything you want to add to what Johnny said there, or in terms of the financial fair play, or?
No, nothing. I'm sure we're about to probably get on to Burnley Brentford, but yeah, it's nothing more from that point of view for me. But as you say, Johnny's added a bit of clarity because I've not bothered to read into it this week, so I guess I'm only looking in as a punter.
Yeah. And Graham, I'll say you and Burnley are the biggest winners then, I guess, this weekend in terms of looking at that table. Forest getting 4 points deducted, and they win and beat Brentford 2-1 at the weekend in a game that I think we've said many times, like they've got to get a win here, They haven't, but they managed to do that. And look, if they get one more win, they're a point behind Brentford. Forest, and it does open it right up. Graham, what did you make of that at the weekend?
Yeah, obviously a good result for them. We were talking last week, and to be honest, I still talk as if Burnley are down. I do think they are. One result, yep, great, good for them. However, I just don't see them having enough about them to get many of those results the remainder of the season. Brentford played with 10 men from the 10th minute, so that obviously had an outcome in the game, and I just don't think Burnley are going to have enough about them. But it was a good result, and as you've just said, if they can get another win, which I feel like would need to come in, at some point in the next couple of games, if they're going to want any momentum, then away to Chelsea, then at home to Wolves, then away to Everton. Those are a tough few games. Let's face it. Chelsea maybe turning a wee bit of a corner, certainly getting a bit more momentum themselves. Wolves are in a great run of form. Okay, minus the weekend, that was unfortunate for them, but other than that, they've had a great season. They're pushing for Europe. So, I think if Burnley are going to have a chance, they really need, in my opinion, they need to pick up at least 3 points out of the next couple of games to kind of kickstart that. Personally, Brentford, they've taken 7 points out of the last 45 in the league. So Johnny's obviously just said, if anyone goes in a bad run, they can get pulled in. Well, Burnley are in a honking run. And I do fully believe that, if you 26 points, 5 above the drop, 7 points in the last 45, 4 points out of the last 27, it is not looking good just now for Brentford. So I'm not sure really what's going on there. I like Thomas Franks. He's obviously done a great job, but it could be squeaky bum for them for the rest of the season. They do still have big games the rest of the season. They've still to play teams like Bournemouth, Luton, Everton, Sheffield United. So it is favourable for them to run in, but also flip a coin. Those are massive games, and if they do go the other way, they could very well find themselves in one of those last day relegation battle matches that we spoke about. So yeah, interesting.
It is, and Johnny, Graham's right there. Burnley on not a great one. That's the first win in 10 Premier League games they had. But just up there on Brentford, did you think the Reguilon foul was a red card? I know there's a little bit of a debate going about it online. I don't think the referee even gave a penalty actually live. I think it was something the VAR picked up on. What's your thoughts on that?
On the penalty, my first view when I watched it was no, that's soft. That was my first opinion. I watched it a few times since, and it is a subjective one, but also going by where we are with the game. I mean, I know we've spoken about it a few times, but it's the route the game's going down. In first glance, it looks like Vitinho is in the box and he just slams the brakes on, puts the handbrake on, and Reguilon's coming in at full pelt and clatters into the back of them. So it looks like they're coming together. But then, in closer look, what does Reguilon is he puts his hands up. He puts his hands up and pushes into the back of them. That's the problem there. That's what causes it. So I can't say I particularly like it. I don't think there's a lot in it. We keep saying, oh, it's a contact sport, but I mean, is it? How much contact's left? There's not a lot. So, I mean, even to be fair, even Thomas Frank flat out said red card. Never argued, never complained. Just said, he asked him, is it a red card? He said, yes, it's a red card. No complaints on that one. They were complaining about the late penalty that they thought Brentford should have had on Tony, but the keeper. I thought that was a better claim, to be honest, on viewing the pair of them. But yeah, I mean, it's brutally harsh, mate. But it's where the game is, and like Graham said, it snookers the game. You know, it changes the pace, it changes the way the teams are setting up, especially Brentford, and it makes it a very, very long day for them. And I think that's what cost them in the end. You know, they just ran out of legs because they were coming out a wee bit towards the back end. You know, once Mbeumo came on, they definitely looked better. But I mean, the chances in that game was absolutely ridiculous. The missed chances were Tony and Wissa both. I think Tony had 2 or 3, Wissa had a couple, and then you had Fofana. He'd done the same as well now. 1 yard out, still managed to put it away. No idea how. So it's another one where the game was there for both of them really to make it a hell of a lot more of a competition. Brentford probably could have had something, but yeah, just don't take your chances, mate. So yeah, sorry that was a bit of a tangent, but I didn't like the penalty, but yeah, it's probably the right call.
It is, and you could hear the coupons getting ripped up 8 minutes in, because I think everyone would have backed an away win there. I know I certainly did, and I don't want to see Greg for a little while, but yeah, big fan.
Sorry, that's 14 in the last 19 that Brentford have lost, which is bogging really. I don't know how many draws are in that as well. So yeah, I mean that was 20. The last 28 games Burnley have lost. So I mean it's a massive 3 points for them. I agree with Graham. I still think it's too far for them. It's too much because you look at the fixtures and like Graham said, they do have good fixtures left. I think they have the best running, and they play all the teams around them. But it's like when you say that, you're kind of assuming they're going to win, and the form doesn't suggest that. One game, you know, doesn't make the season.
They've got to get Mbeumo fit, and they get him fit and firing. When he come on the weekend, I thought he's a good player. To be honest, he's a really good player. They need to get him fit and ready for that running. I think he'll make a big difference. Graham, just the last Premier League game again. I feel like I didn't want to talk about more refereeing decision. I've done that a few times the last few weeks, but this one was took VAR took the headlines. West Ham scored 2 goals, denied twice for handballs. I've heard lots of complaints. I've seen lots of things online. I've heard things from my friends that were there, but I've got to be honest. In my opinion, I think they're both handballs in the rules, and I think. You know, I don't understand why it took 6 or 7 minutes for I think it's the longest VAR check in Premier League history for the last minute one. But when you see it back, it clearly hits Souček's arm. But yeah, a good point for Villa, I'd say, away from home after Europe. And I know West Ham played in Europe as well. But I think Villa will definitely come out the happier, especially with Tottenham dropping points.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, when you look at the Tottenham result, retrospectively, for Villa, that's a good point, especially after a big result against a famous club on the Thursday. So yeah, the handball, I'm with you. I think it was, if you go by the rules of the game, I guess. My issue again is the is the time it takes. That's ridiculous. I didn't know that was the longest ever, although obviously I'm not surprised. I think for me, I like VAR to an extent, but for me it needs polished. I think if you there's got to be a time limit on it, right? So whatever the decision is, if the guy with replays at his disposal, can't tell you within 30 or 40 seconds if it's a clear novice error, then you go with the original ref decision, whether that's right or wrong. Or we cannot sit there for 5.5 minutes and wait for a decision, whether it's start the game, end the game. I get the importance, etc., but you just can't do that. And we've been in stadiums with VAR now as well, and there's nothing worse. Fans are standing there really not knowing what's going on other than what they put on the big screens, maybe start checking a potential handball. That's it. We hear nothing else. Even sit and watch that at home, etc. It's not good enough. So it needs polished. I think there should be some form of time limit because, as I say, if you can't watch 2 or 3 replays and tell us if it's clear and obvious against what the ref decided on the field, then it should be overturned. It should not be overturned. That's that.
Johnny, I think Graham makes a really good point there. Obviously, the caveat to that is they want to make the right decision, and obviously, but what, the game weren't West Ham game wasn't live on telly at the weekend, so it weren't one that sort of watched waiting. And you know, sometimes it can take, I don't know why, but it can take 2 to 3 minutes before they get a proper camera angle of what's happened. But when you see the angle they got, I don't know why it took that long, because if the rule is it hits the hand, goes and leads to the goal in the box and goes in the net, it's disallowed. So as Graham said, why is it taking that long for the second one? And I think the first one was quite a while as well. That I think Antonio's would have been his second goal before Villa going equalised.
I mean, some of them take an obscene amount of time, mate, and yeah, that one was bad. The problem is they drag the arse out it. So as Graham just said there, that you know, I agree there should be a time limit, and at the end of the day, if it's clear and obvious, you should be able to find it quick enough. What I'm saying is the problem is, I think they look at the handball, which it is, and then they start going back the way. Is there anything that cancels that out, and back and back and back, and it just gets silly. So sometimes it's almost like they're looking for a reason either to give or not to give, rather than just focusing on why the referee made that call. If he's making that call on that handball, then that's where they should be looking, and that's all they need to look at. Obviously neither was a goal. I mean, the rule is if you can't, the ball can't hit your hand or your arm in the process of scoring, even if your hands are at your side, it's irrelevant. You know, so yeah, I mean, to me, straightforward. I'd agree. Why they drag the arse out that long? Only they know, mate. And as Graham said as well, the clarity is not there. You get a very, very brief explanation. You know, there's no breakdown. Half the time we don't even see the lines for offside. So yeah, I mean, there's 100 different ways they could improve that and make it far more streamlined. And probably people would stop being so. There's still a huge contingent that don't want VAR anywhere near football, and that's probably why. You know, that's a big reason why, because it just doesn't feel like it's being utilised properly. The game itself, I kind of agree with what you said, mate. That I think I just expected a bit of a barn burner. I wasn't sure what we would get. I thought we'd get more goals than that. But with hindsight, looking back at midweek, both of them had European adventures, both done well. I think a draw was probably to be expected. I'm not saying I did, but probably was. But yeah, I mean, they made a big deal about the VAR things, mate, but I just, like you, I think the only problem or the only big deal with the VAR things was the amount of time it took to get to what looked like a simple explanation.
This is an annoying thing for me because, you know, you can sit there and take 10, 15 minutes if you want to make sure you get the right call, but it's subjective decisions. So you could sit there for 50 minutes and you've still got half the country going, that's the wrong decision. So I get for offside calls when they're having to draw lines. I get that because that's black and white for me, right? The offside where a player's potentially infringing or not, I get that's a bit more subjective. So these subjective calls for me, there should be a time limit. There should be, because it is, or they is, they are, they aren't. At the end of the day, there's a referee for it, and if his decision can't be obviously spotted as an error, where it's for a goal, against a goal, whatever, within a really reasonable time frame, then it's done. Let's move on. As I say, offsides are a bit more black and white. So if you need a bit more time to draw the lines, that's one thing. But these subjective calls, they need to be sharper with it.
No, got to agree with that. Just as long as the lines ain't coming from the Scottish Premier League, we've seen some of the lines drawn in our league. Won't go with them. But Johnny, going back to you, we'll move on to the FA Cup, and I have to start with the game at Old Trafford. I'm gonna go and say that's the best game of football I've watched this season. Just pure neutral entertainment, goals, had a bit of everything. Obviously a derby. I mean, I don't know where to start with this one, but what did you make of that at the weekend?
Did you see how my eyes lit up there when you said we were going to that game? I was looking for Jamie in one of the box corners, but he's not here. How convenient, eh? He's been a mainstay for about a year solid. And then they lose to Man United and he's like dust in the wind. I hope you listen to this, mate. Yeah, it was a great game, mate. I'd really enjoyed the FA Cup in general over the weekend. They have been a wee bit lacklustre this season, a wee bit cagey. A lot of the fixtures, especially the televised ones, but there was none of that the weekend. It was just a chaotic game. What I did find impressive with Man United was, I don't know if you remember when they played City and they ended up, they went up 1-0 really early. Remember Rashford hit that worldly. As soon as they got that goal, they had a bank of red behind the ball for the entire game. Basically, they never got out. It looked like that was their setup, try and steal something, a dead ball or something special, and just part of us. There was none of that the weekend. They got that goal and they kept going, and they could have had more. They had Liverpool on the ropes for a good portion at the start of that game. I was quite impressed, to be honest. I mean, I've gave them a fair bit of flack this season, but I thought they were excellent. But then you can never really count Liverpool out. They crawled their way back into the game. You've always got, even with Salah, who had a quieter game, because, I mean, to be fair to him, he's just back for injury. I think that's his first start since coming back from injury. But even then, he's still lethal. So it was a mad game. It was a mad game. Even Liverpool, I mean, they got a wee hander because I think both the first two goals were massive deflections, which looked like Anana had them covered. And then it just, as the game went on, you kept thinking, especially when Liverpool went ahead, you thought, right, they'll turn the screw now. Man United have had their wee moment and Liverpool are just going to steamroll them, but it never quite happened. And even when it did, Man United just showed a fight that, probably the first time I've seen a fight like that for them this season, that it was like they were having none of it. They were not losing that game. So, mate, I really enjoyed it. I tell you what will bother Jamie more. It's not the fact that they lose, it's the fact that Anthony got them back in the game. That will kill him.
I think that's the main reason why he's not here tonight.
And with his bad foot. He never scores with his bad foot.
He never scores.
True that. It was just a really enjoyable game, mate. They can't win every game. That's the bottom line. There's going to be games like that. Man United turned up, and it's just one they have to chalk off. They're still in plenty of competitions. They're still going for loads. Man United will be buzzing. I mean, Chelsea might get a bit further now because Liverpool are there to get in their way. Yeah, it's our kryptonite.
Yeah, that's true. Graham, got to credit Man United. I agree with Johnny. That's that sort of, I know it sounds silly, but that never say die, that fighting attitude. At times when I watch Man United, I just don't see it. They were desperate to get that equaliser, and they did ride the storm in that second half, where Liverpool will be kicking themselves not to go and kill the game. I think they had two breakaways. There was a 5-on-2, there was a 4-on-2 at one point, and United come back into it. And what I think Man United have found a little gem there in the midfielder. Maino, I think he looks like a good little player. And someone else that I always bring up when in the big games, I think Scott McTominay turns up for him as well. I thought he was really, really good at the week. He gets a goal and obviously sets up Rashford's one, and he did not stop the whole game. So I think there's a lot of positives there for Man United. It'll be interesting how they sort of respond to that now as well.
Absolutely. I think, first of all, when we're moving on to talking about the FA Cup, you're saying there's only one place to start. What I loved most about that weekend is you could have said Wolverhampton, you could have said Old Trafford, you could have said Stamford Bridge. Between those three games, 18 goals between them. It was brilliant to sit and watch that. Terrestrial telly as well, not everyone might have a stick or whatever, or might not be able to afford Sky Red like that. So the fact all these games are just free to view, it was what a weekend it was just to sit and watch that. And yeah, that Man U Liverpool game, for me, like you, I think that's one of the best games I've watched in a long time. It was beyond entertaining. Man U start really well, but I think I said to you boys at the time, you get the feeling that if they don't take those chances, specifically after 1-0 up, they had a couple of chances. Like, if you're not taking them, you've got to worry. And they go in 2-1 behind at half time, just kind of typical. But like, they kept in the game. You've pinpointed a couple of most important players. Menu, I think, is a sensation, and he'll be a mainstay of that team for years to come. McTominay, his goal record this season is ridiculous, club and country. And he could have had another in that first half, I think if he'd put his laces through that ball rather than just maybe try to place it, I think it probably gave the Kelleher a bit, maybe an easier save to make. But, they stuck in it. And they got the equaliser a few minutes before the end. But saying that, Liverpool, they had chances of their own and could add that kind of game beyond them in that kind of third quarter. They seemed to really control that part of the game. So I think both teams were at kind of fault for not taking a lot of their best chances in the game, and it just transpired. Luckily for the kind of viewer audience, that it turned into an absolute belter, and what a way to finish. Ahmad Diallo, it looked like Garnacho for me it was a poor pass through and kind of almost played it behind him, and I thought, maybe the chances missed, but fair play to him. I mean, it was an absolute class finish. So no, the game is absolutely brilliant. I loved it. It was a great way to spend a Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely, and what a terrible rule that is as well. When Diallo takes off his top, and it's not like he's showing his bare body either. He's going to miss the semi-final now. Last minute of a derby. Come on, that's.
I remember watched the Copa Libertadores final a few months back in Kennedy as well. He came on as a sub, got booked, then scores what turns out to be the winner, and of course gets sent off for a second booking after jumping. Although his wasn't the dying seconds, I think it was still a good few minutes to play the game. I get it, but I guess the rules there. He said he completely forgot about his booking, and it would completely go out the window after scoring a last kick of the ball, winning against Liverpool at an FA Cup quarter final at Old Trafford. Come on, I do get it. It's a wee bit of common sense, but I guess it is what it is.
I wonder how Ten Hag is with that, because I don't get the impression that kind of stuff slides with him easily.
I don't think he'll care. I honestly don't. Diallo's a bit of a bench warmer this season.
He is.
So, I think they'll get past Coventry relatively comfortable, and you never know. Maybe he'll make an appearance in the final.
You get that on your TikTok, because you said that now, and Coventry are going through. You've just done it, mate. I give you on the lad Manu, by the way. That boy's a talent. Yeah, such a comfortable player. Does not look out of place whatsoever.
And I actually see this week as well, obviously, with our game against Benfica, I read in the press down here on Friday that they were after Neves from Benfica. I thought he was a quality player, and I just thought, them two in midfield. I think they're both really good ages, but that could be a right good midfield. But yeah, especially top player. Johnny, the other game, Graham's absolutely right. I could have started anywhere apart from the Etihad this weekend on the FA Cup, but we'll come to the game at Molineux, Wolves 2, Coventry 3. I actually, got to be honest, I know I've said earlier that was the best game of football I've watched this season in terms of Man United Liverpool. Well, I'll tell you that on Saturday night, I would have picked Wolves and Coventry because that had everything as well. And I think you said earlier in the show there was some absolute sitters this weekend as well. And Ellis Sims missed one of the biggest sitters of the season, but he goes and gets the double and sets up the winner in the end. But yeah, what a game! And I've got a caveat just whilst I'm there, say the left back for Wolves, Nori. He is quality. I think he's going to be one this summer that all the clubs are going to be looking at. Every time I watch him, I think, oh, you know that I think the bit of play for Wolves' second goal. I think he looks like a top one. But yeah, again, so much to sort of get through in that game, but it was a cracker.
Yeah, mate. You just echoed what I said on last week's pod about Nuri. I forgot you were away watching West Ham. I agree, mate. I agree. He's a quality player. He was linked with Liverpool, I think United, Chelsea as well for a while. Whether he might go elsewhere, mate. You never know. I think one of those players that probably has his choice, pick of the bunch. Yeah, it was a brilliant game, mate. The place was absolutely buzzing. I was quite happy with it, mate. I stuck a lumped on a few quid on Big Sims to get the first goal. So I was quite happy with that. But I mean, he had a good game. I agree with you. The sitter was bad, but yeah, he gave them no end of trouble. No end of trouble. But I mean, like you said, I thought all the cup games were a bit like that over the weekend. You know, they were end to end, very very competitive. So I mean, just a highly enjoyable game. Mate. Really really good game. I don't think it's the end of the world for Wales, to be honest. I think. Does it sound too harsh to say I don't see them winning it anyway? Is that maybe a bit brutal?
No.
And maybe just taking all those extra games on? I mean, I don't know. It's maybe a bit harsh. They are quite comfortable league-wise. I don't see them going much higher than where they are. Probably hovering where they are in the league. Maybe seventh at a stretch, but they've been a wee bit erratic too. I mean, still having a great season though. Don't get me wrong. I'm just talking about recently. I just feel like we're having such a good season for what we expected in the league. Maybe the exit for the FA Cup isn't awful for them. It's only a long way to go around a point now. But I mean, just a cracking game, mate. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought we were real. It was one of those games I thought we were about 2 seconds away the whole game for a red card, which never really came. But no, just a really good game, mate. A good advert for the FA Cup.
Yeah, it wasn't it. You know, that's the good thing about the FA Cup, and I think we all expected Wolves to win the game beforehand. They go 2-1 up in the end. You think, oh, Coventry will be kicking themselves with the chances they missed, and then bang, bang, they've gone and got 2 goals. And Graham, I don't know if you see Mark Robbins' celebration as well for the winner. He lost his head, and he's celebrating in front of the ball boy, which has caused quite a story. But yeah, just about there to Johnny's point. Wolves, I think Wolves have got some good players, and they've got definitely some sellable assets that I do think that they'll cash in on in the summer, because I think financially they'll have to.
Yeah, I think they will. I think because the way they've shown they can deal with losing important players anyway at the start of the season, they've dealt with a fair few injuries of their own this season, and they're still where they are. I think probably shows actually they both can trust in Gary Neal that they can sell the players without it going absolutely tits up. The problem is I just don't see them investing as much, so it is okay to sell them if you've got a game plan such as a Brine, but I don't see Wolves having that, so they do need to strike that right balance between okay, who we sell and how much they're actually going to invest back in. O'Neill's miracle work this season with that team, but there's probably only so much you can do. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I completely agree. He'll be away. I think the way he plays, especially the way he likes to come inside and pick up the ball inside quite a lot, probably suits him more to a Tottenham or Man City, whether they'll be in the market for an Nuri, but wherever he goes, they will cash in on him, that's for sure. I wonder if he has a release clause, or you could be looking at a kind of 40, 50, 60 million, I'd imagine. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they sell and where somebody like he ends up. What a game, by the way. What a game. Oh, so good. So good. Brilliant.
I didn't really appreciate that with the injury thing. I'm forgetting at the minute because obviously they lost Cunha, who was banging form when he went out, and you kind of question where's the goals going to come from. And then you had Neto and Hwang, which they're both out as well. I mean, that's a huge chunk out of their threat really. So yeah, I mean they are doing well. They I don't know where they are financially though. I know.
Don't forget, Johnny, sorry, that they've obviously got the mighty Fabio Silva out loan as well. So I mean, they've
Yeah. They don't have a lot of cover up top, to be honest. As in forwards, they have very little after Cunha. Yeah, I never actually realised they were that thin. I'm actually looking at. I didn't realise because they've only got two really bit part players after Cunha, so they're really relying on the goals coming through the middle of the park. I mean, he's done. We've all said it before, mate. I mean, some of us. I know. I'm pretty sure I had them struggling this season, and he's completely proved me wrong. He's had a really good tune out of them at the weekend. Just one of those things. Cup game, anything can happen, and yeah, can't really put it all on Wolves because I mean, let's be honest, Coventry done really well. I mean, fair play to them.
Yeah, no, I think it's a case that I don't think Wolves were poor. I just think fair play to Coventry. I mean, they stamped their authority in the game as well, and they missed some big opportunities and come back into it. I think Renato. I'm pretty sure he's out for 8 weeks. It's such a blow because when he come back, he looked frightening. And again, he's got another injury, so hopefully he comes back soon. Graham, moving on to the other Sunday lunchtime kickoff, which again was a terrific game of football. Chelsea beating Leicester 4-2. Chelsea in absolute cruise control, by the way, 2-0 up. Obviously Sterling misses a penalty, which I'll come on to Sterling. I'll let Johnny come on to Sterling in a minute. But the own goal from Desai, is it? That is an absolute shocker, by the way. And that completely changed the cut time, and Leicester come back into it and got the equaliser, great goal. And at that point, you're thinking, you've got to fancy Leicester to go and get the winner. And then Chelsea do go and get the fourth. But what did you make of that?
Well, I mean, don't go first of all. We're too busy watching some shitey replay from a minute before. It comes back to the live game, the balls in the net, because it came from absolutely nowhere. I think I can't remember who it was commentating the game, but they're kind of saying as if Sanchez could have been positioned. Like, what do you want? What do you want the goalie to do in that position? Like, there's an easy pass back. The goalie's at the top, he's at the edge of his box. So I thought that was a bit harsh, but yeah, like the game itself, another enjoyable one. I didn't expect it to be. I think, as you say, 2-0, Chelsea going in at half time, goal not the second not long before half time, having missed a penalty as well. Didn't expect the second half to really be up to much. Leicester played well in the first half. They started the game pretty well, but Chelsea just showed their quality for a change and were comfortable that first half. Then, as you say, the game sparks into life, and out of nowhere, Leicester get an equaliser, and yeah, game on, as you say. So it was a really enjoyable game to watch. I'll obviously leave the Sterling tear down, I guess, to Johnny, but he was. I've seen him a few times this season where I've thought, what is going on? Like, looking hideous at times, but then he'll still turn around with a wee bit of piece of magic and set up a goal or score. And, that happened this game. We set up Cole Palmer. So, look, it was. I guess the game was taken away from Leicester the minute that red card was given, and it was clear again. I don't know why VR took so long with that. It was clear a free kick and a red. That was it. It should have taken about 10 seconds. Why it took so long? It was one of those I was questioning myself. What are the rules here? Am I missing something? It was a strange one, but Chelsea go in comfortable win, deserve signals. But yeah, another brilliant game. Johnny, do you want to tear the arse off Sterling?
We're saving it for him, aren't we?
Oh yeah, tag me in. I mean, you guys have summarised the game pretty much as it went. It should never have been a 4-2 game. The Disasi moment of madness definitely gave Leicester, that spark that just wasn't there at all. They looked very, very comfortable. Start with Sterling. First, we'll go to the penalty. Before we even talk about the miss, we'll ask, why is he taking the penalty? Yeah, I mean, we want to give them a go. No, just get the game dead, get it finished, win the game. You're not in a position to be that comfortable given how fragile they've been. I can only assume, I would say, and it has been Palmer on every penalty, and rightly so. And on direct free kicks, because he's the most dangerous in that team, most talented, most creative by a country mile. So they give it to Sterling, and we all seen it. Puts it straight to the keeper, gives him a gift. That was the start of it. He does, like Graham says, every now and then you'll get something. He pops up, gets an assist for the second, and it's a good assist. He cuts the ball back. Palmer beats his man and just nips in at the front post. That was a great ball for Sterling, but that's all he done. He done nothing else for that game other than cause problems. I think Sterling's biggest issue, and it has been for a while, I don't really know how apparent it was at Liverpool. Jamie will clarify that when he's back. But you see him at England, he's terrible with England as well. Done it at Man City. He is the greediest player in the world, and his decision making is dreadful. He gets in all the right positions and makes all the wrong choices. Does it? It's the only thing that's consistent about him. He's doing that week in and week out. So, and then comes back to the same question that I'd said a few weeks ago, why we're not trying to rest one of these holding mid when it wasn't working. Enzo never played at the weekend. I mean, he was suspended, but they did look more fluid. That was with him out of the team. I'm not saying he's the problem. I'm just saying it doesn't hurt to try something else. Then same applies to Sterling. He's been dog shit. So why are we persisting? And then why are we putting him on all the most key important chances in the match to get something? It's madness. It's just shooting yourself in the foot when you just do not need to do it. And then at the end, we see the free kick. Now, I hate seeing teams boo their own player, especially during a game. No matter how bad they are, what they do, I can't stand that. It does nobody any favours. But the frustration obviously was too much. Probably antagonised prior when he hooked Mudryk, who was having arguably his best game in a Chelsea shirt, and he leaves Sterling on the pitch. So, for as much Sterling was terrible, and he was, I thought Poch handled it. He just never handled it well at all. I mean, kind of put him in the firing line, pull him out of that. It's not working. Get him off the pitch. Yes, Graham.
Johnny, I do need to go back to that free kick. There is a specific angle of that free kick taken by a fan at the other side of the pitch. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. Right behind. It is. I didn't think a ball could get up that high, that soon, that quick. Like, it is unbelievable the work he actually gets in that ball. Obviously, if he gets the work he wants on it, it would have been a goal. Do you know what I mean? It was one of those that close. There's no stopping it if you hit it right. But oh my God, I just didn't think you could get that much action on a ball and get it that high up in there that quick. Unbelievable. An epic free kick. Epic.
I don't think
As epic as his awful penalty before. It was amazing.
I've heard such a loud collective groan at one action in a football game. Every single person in that stadium went, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" And the commentary is the exact same. I don't know if you paid attention when he done that. Usually the commentary will say, "Oh, he's done that," or "There's been a slip or a ball." Both of them just went, "Oh!" The whole stadium, the commentary, the whole everybody in the canteen, "Oh, awful." So yeah, mate, look, I think on his day he can be unplayable, but his day happened less than a handful of times a season, and it's just not good enough. Yeah, I think he's one of the ones that is. I don't know if it's a pressure thing. Pressure's too high now to perform. If there's more to it than that, I don't know. But you can't take away from the fact he's been awful. I don't think I've sworn on the pod today, so I'm going to say fucking awful. That's my one. My one for the day.
I do need to say, like, again though, like, I think Sterling is a a really special player. Like, I totally agree with the unplayable factor. I've watched him a couple of times this season where he's had this weird game where he's been awful, his end product's been minging, he's missed a sitter, he's been too greedy, but in the same game he's scored or assisted. I just think he is a brilliant player. He's got, say, I think 15 goal contributions this season. Like, it's not as if he hides, he doesn't offer anything. But at the same breath, Pep Guardiola ain't letting that his best players go to another Premier League club. Is he? Like, I think he knows the value he has, but I think he also knows the flaws. And I think, it's maybe no surprise that Liverpool let him go to Chelsea, to Man City let him go to Chelsea, because as good as he can be, he has his flaws, and that's probably what it all boils down to.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. I do, like I said, I do think he can be outstanding. He's a talented footballer. I just think he makes so many poor decisions that make him look probably a lot worse than he is. Can't excuse the free kicks and the penalties and that, but that could, like I say, that could well be the pressure is on because the fans are getting frustrated with him and you don't know how players are going to handle that. That could definitely be a slice of it, which is why booing just doesn't help. But yeah, I agree with you, mate. I think you've nailed it.
absolutely. I mean, he's never been able to. I know it sounds mad, but he's never been a clean striker of the ball. So for me to let him go and take free kicks and penalties, that is just bonkers. But yeah, as said, he's best when he's in and he's cutting the ball back. That's when Sterling's dangerous, or he's getting in at the back post for a tap in. When you actually see he's finishing, he's erratic as anything. But yeah, gents, we'll move on to the last game of the weekend then.
Just one thing, Mason. Sorry, mate. One thing I would have chucked on the back of that was to continue for the last however many weeks, even though when Chelsea have been awful, Palmer and Gusto again were outstanding. They two are massive standouts in that team. The Gusto lads came, it's totally unexpected, but Palmer for me, sign of the season, considering the impact he's had in that team.
No, he's a top player. And I agree with you, Johnny, as well, about Mudryk. I thought that was Mudryk's best game, and I think he looked very, very good in that position. I think that's something that he's got to build on that, but that's somewhere I'd like to see him play a little bit more. He looks so dangerous on the half turn. Graham, not so much of a good game Saturday night. I'm gonna say I think the game was won pretty early with Man City going 2-0. I think it was game set and match really. Newcastle disappointed. Their season's sort of finished now, to be honest. I can't see them really challenging for that top 4, even top 5 position. But City got the job done and in the semi-final.
Yeah, not a great game. Let's face it, but I say not a great game purely because at no point did it really feel like a competitive game. I think Man City were always in control. I think it was at 2-0 where Ortega made that really good save from Isak. Other than that, I'm sure there probably were moments. I don't remember too many big moments for Newcastle. It was just complete control for Man City. And look, it season's end for Newcastle. That's them. Done nothing for them to play for whatsoever now. But I think if you listen to the pundit tray, they had Shearer and Sheikh Everon, and both of them were probably in agreement that, look, this probably was a bit of a free hit for Eddie Howe this season. He's had a lot of injuries after how he did with the last season, got them into the Champions League. I think there's a lot of feel that he's had a lot of tough draws, the League Cup, the Champions League, FA Cup, etc. And regardless of how if they lost the final games of the season, he'll be in charge next season. But I do wonder how long that goodwill's going to last for Eddie Howe, and it has been a disappointing season. A lot of it game factors, I get that, but I think if where they are now, if they're there next season, I don't think Eddie Howe will be. I think they do need a summer of good additions and important in the transfer market. I'm not saying they need to go wild, but I think 4 or 5 really strong additions. Get a couple of players out that it's time for them to leave, and we'll maybe see a Newcastle more like last season next season, because that game at the Etihad, the hardest place to go in England just now anyway, let's face it. It just felt all a bit like a training match to me watching. It didn't get the juices flow like Molineux or Old Trafford did, that's for sure.
No, I agree with that. And I'll hold my hands up. I was paying a little bit more attention to the rugby when that one was on. But yeah, agree with that. Graham, Johnny, anything to sort of add on that game in the weekend?
I mean, pretty much what you have said. It just felt like a dull affair, really, which is, considering it was so one-sided, maybe sounds a wee bit harsh on City, but I just felt like Newcastle offered nothing. They just weren't at the races at all. They looked jaded, mate. They looked just, I don't know if I say down tools, but they just looked knackered. City made it look very, very easy. I mean, ugly deflection for Silva's goal, and it was the exact same for the second one, actually. They were both deflections. But even by that, I mean, they had a lot more chances in that. I think 2-0 probably flattered Newcastle. I do think you have to put something on the state of that squad this season. I mean, last season, yes, I think we're probably seeing last season they overachieved. This season, it's looking like they've underachieved. But this season, I don't really like putting a lot on injuries, but theirs has been, spoke about a few times, but it's been really bad. At one point, like we said before, the whole first team defence, I think, except one, was out at the same time for weeks. They were bringing back players who really shouldn't be anywhere near that first team. And these guys were starting every week because they had no choice. And then now we're a wee bit further in the season. It looked like they were picking up a wee bit with injuries. They got knocked out of Europe. You thought maybe it would level out a bit. But then we're at the stage now we've got Trippier out, Joe Linton. I think Joe Linton's huge for me. Huge player for Newcastle. Probably a wee bit underappreciated. You've got Nick Pope out. You've got Callum Wilson out. Livermental's out. So they are missing key players. I mean, that alone, that's a spine. So it has to have an effect. You know, I know we say the big squads, but I don't think Newcastle does have that big a squad. Once you go past maybe 13 players, I think the quality drops a lot. And then add in injuries to that, I think they are going to toil a wee bit. I don't know about Eddie Howe. I mean, Jamie's, you know, he's been adamant for a while that he doesn't think he'll be there next season. I'm not convinced by that either. I just think it'd be half to sack him after this season with the way it's went. It doesn't mean they won't. I mean, like we say, we know they have a lot of money. They can't spend all that money, but they do need to definitely need to strengthen. But do they have confidence in Eddie Howe to do it? I mean, we're talking about big players and big money. There's nothing to say they might say, you know what, let's get somebody much more high profile, because they can if they want to.
It's got to be really tempting to not sniff about a Jose Mourinho, who does, other than Tottenham, where he got them to a cup final, he wins trophies wherever he goes. Newcastle haven't won a trophy since 1969. Like, we talk about success. We talked the last week about, you know, Tottenham with Villa, what would they rather want? Cup, a sporadic cup, or, you know, that Champions League, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's different for either club. I think Newcastle desperately want some form of silverware. And it's got to be hard not to sniff about a Jose Mourinho who's a specialist at winning something. So, I don't know. I think he'll be there, but I think he'll get 6 months unless they're challenging top 4 or going deep in the Carabao or FA, then I don't think he'll go.
Yeah, it's fun. I picked Newcastle to. I think we all picked a team that's going to surprise everyone. I picked Newcastle in a positive way. I think they've gone the other way, but Johnny's right with the injuries, suspensions, and the way the season's gone. I think it would be harsh. I think he overachieved last season. I think he's done some really good business in the transfer window. But I do understand Graham's point. Johnny, what would you think if they went and got rid of Eddie Howe and got someone like Mourinho in end of the season? I wouldn't be surprised, but do you think that would be the way to go?
I wouldn't be shocked by it, mate. I wouldn't be shocked by it at all. Like we said, one of the richest clubs, if not the. in the world at the minute. So I mean, I know they're constrained with financial fair play to an extent, but do they do it? You know what? I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say they do it. I'm not saying they get Mourinho, but I'm going to say they make a change. I think these guys have huge ambition, and I'm not saying it's the right call, but I think maybe Eddie Howe's just not, as you would usually say, Mason. I just don't think he's sexy enough for where they want to be. So I think they might go elsewhere.
Well, I think just to sort of finish that off, I think you look at it and you'd say, who do you think the third? Well, I know who do you think the third best manager is in the Premier League? I personally would go Emery, and he's at Aston Villa. In my opinion, I'm not sure if you boys agree with that. But Newcastle, because of financial fair play, as you said, they're not able to go and spend, nilly-willy like we see Chelsea do previous years, Man City. I think they've got to get the best manager available to them, and I think the question would be: is Eddie Howe that's going to be the one that's going to get thrown to them?
I think if they'll go for a Premier League manager, you might see them sniff about like a De Zerbi or something like that, maybe. Again, he's obviously done well with Brighton. He's taken them into Europe, maybe. But as I say, I think with Mourinho and the money they have and the rebuild they need, I honestly think you'd almost be guaranteed them a trophy of sorts within a kind of 18-month period. But that's probably easier said than done. And look, Mourinho's stock's probably quite low, but I do think he has one more Premier League club in him, and I think it might be a Newcastle.
Let's not forget, Paul Heckingbottom's out of work.
Oh, God.
The FA Cup, it sets up nicely, though, because the actual fallout of the FA Cup. I mean, looking at it, if you're a betting man, you're going to say it's a high chance of a Manchester final.
Yeah, well, that was going to be my next question as we sort of finish up there, boys. So,
Sorry.
no, that's all right. I'll put it to that and say thank you both for tonight. First, Johnny, thanks for tonight. Who's going to win the FA Cup?
I'd love to see Chelsea do it, but sensible head says City.
Yeah, fair enough. Thanks for tonight, Johnny. Graham, thanks for tonight again as well. Who's your call? Are you going to go with someone else, or are you going to stick with City?
I keep hearing all this about the magic of the FA Cup, so let's go. Let's just give it to Coventry, right? They get a nice a result against a Man U team that don't turn up. Chelsea somehow managed to beat Man City, and are then catastrophic the final against Coventry, and it's the real magic of the cup. Coventry, who by the way, their fans have went for a shite time of it, so I'll definitely be supporting Coventry, but look, let's face it, it'll be Man City. We all know that.
I was all in for that. You had me on board until you mentioned it was Chelsea getting papped in the final. I don't like it anymore. He was out in the semis.
I'm actually going to go different. I'm going to go with Chelsea winning it this year, just for the pure fact is they are due a bit of luck at Wembley, and I think that's going to come. I don't know. I don't know. I think City. I think that's the easy one, but they're due to not win something soon, aren't they? So
it'll be interesting. I mean, we looked at Ten Hag at Man U, and was it his first season with the FA Cup and Carabao Cup? And obviously, if they do get to final, Chelsea, then again for Pochettino to get to the cup finals, it's a good starting point. For them, they need a strong start in the league next season, but I think their fans will probably look a bit more optimism that they made 2 cup finals if that's to be the case. But as you say, Chelsea are a club that have been used to winning certainly the last couple of decades, so they'll certainly be wanting that silverware for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, gents, for tonight. It was a good show, and I think I'll probably name the show this, the FA Cup that stole the show. We normally talk about Premier League stuff, but with the limited games and how good the FA Cup was this week, that's been the main talking point. But thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week with, international break. We'll be back the week after with a full Premier League list. As always, take care.